Right, guys, I'm going to go through some drawing techniques with you. We're going to start off by rationalizing this shape that we've got here. And then we're going to go and have a look at 1 point and 2 point in this video. In the next video, I'm going to go through isometric, orthographic. I think there might be a couple more annotation maybe. All right, so first of all, I'm going to zoom in and just look at rationalizing a shape. When in your exam you may be given a shape like this is probably a little bit more complex than you would get, but before you start drawing it, it's really useful to give it some sort of dimensions. Going to sit down, so apologies if it has got a little bit more quiet. The way to do that is turn it into a cuboid, and you can do that by extending the edges and projecting those edges through. And so what you end up with, you can see I'm going to produce a base for it. I'm just going to take that across there. Produce a base. About there. I'm going to go across on this one. There we go. You can see it slowly coming together, projecting those angles. Once I've got these lines in, what I'm going to do is just go over them just to make sure I can see them a bit better. There we go. All right, can you see that? So that's now become a cube, and we've got its side face. That'd be the side there. We've got the front there, and this one coming down would be the top, or sometimes referred to as the plan. Right, make that into a nice arrow. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to assign some dimensions to it. Now, if I look at that there, that looks to me like a square. And then I think I could probably also say that there looks like a square as well. And then I've got a little bit sticking out the end, which is this little part here. Can you see it? So if that's one, if I give that unit, or the width of that little part there, if I was going to give that a unit of 1, I think I could say, okay, 3 of those would go into one side of that square, so I can give that square, that side of the square, a unit of 3. But I think I can do exactly the same here, which gives the cuboid length there, the front length, that gives that 7 in total, doesn't it? Okay, looking at this, that looks, well, I'm just going to straighten it out a bit, similar to 3. And also, if I look at that, I've got sort of 3 different parts to it, and so I think that's probably quite good as 3 as well. And because this is a square, this here, that's going to be 3, isn't it? So now I've got the height as 3, I've got the length on the front face as 7, divided up into 3, 3, 1, and I've got the length on the side face 3. And so I'm much more comfortable in regards to what I'm going to be drawing, and I can use a certain amount of geometry in my drawings. Okay, so let's start off by having a look at 1 point perspective. Now, 1 point perspective is when you draw a shape, for example, a square, and then you project all the sides to the 1 point, and you again put in some horizontals and verticals to create a shape. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in this front face, then I'm going to project my lines to a point, and I'm going to try and put in the depth of the product. Okay, that's the aim. Let's see how it goes. All right, I'm going to just move this a little bit just so I can draw in some better lines. Okay. I'm holding my pencil quite far away. It just makes it easier to draw lines which are straighter, I find. So I'm drawing in 1 square, 2 squares, and then I'm going to draw in a third. So I've done exactly the same as what I've done over here, just to try and give me a ratio of that shape, which is 7 by 3. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm sure it does. You're all great at mathematics, aren't you? Right. Okay, so we've got, just going to check this. Yep. 1 square, 2 squares. So that square there would refer to the back square. The middle square, of course, is the mid square there. And that long rectangle is this rectangle here. Right. What I would do now is take this dimension, whatever it is, and I would double it. And then I would take it off to the right. So I would have my vanishing point, VP1, over here. And this is where all of the lines are going to go to. And so what I'm going to do is just start by creating a block very similar to what I've got up here. So I want to turn this face here into a square. There's no measuring here, it's all done by eye. So I think about there. And then what I need to do, I'm going to move this again so I can about that. So parallel, not quite. It's better. I'm not overly happy with that. All right, that'll do. Don't have a rubber, I'm afraid, but you can see it. I've created a block. Okay, now let's talk about faces. Can you see that in regards to this front face of the square that we've produced, the bits which are actually in contact with that front face, I'm going to shade here. There, the circle, or that curved area starts there. And so that is really the area. You see that? Which is in contact with that face. That bit isn't in contact with the face because it's on an angle. And the bit that's in contact with the sort of side face is that bit there. Yeah, can you see that? I'm not too sure you can. I'm going to make that a bit darker. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, and I'm just going to put some cross hatching in here just to make sure that you can see it. Okay, so that's the two things that I want to draw on first. I'm going to draw those on first. Zoom out. I'm going to draw those in first and then try and join the rest of it up. I suppose the other thing we can say with this is we could start to divide this up into 3 widths, and it's a little bit of a dicky picture, this, I think, to be honest with you. I think that face should probably come down a bit. But if I was to divide that, divide that up into a 3 by 3 grid, the only part which is in connection with the face is this part here. The rest of the grid would be empty. So I'm going to do exactly the same down here. One minute. Right, sorry about that, guys. So if I just divide that up into a 3 by 3 grid, which you can see, this end of the shape is going to occupy that space there. Okay, so that's the first bit I've done. Right, let's have a look at the front face then. Now what I know is we can do exactly the same here and divide that into sort of a 3 by 7. And I'm going to do the same here. It's a bit rough and it's a bit inaccurate, I must say, but it will give us the idea. And you don't have to be incredibly accurate. You've just got to show that you understand the drawing techniques. And so if I'm looking at this, I've got a rise. The first square here is vacant. Then I've got 3 squares on the bottom. Then it goes up to 2 squares. And so the front face, it's actually 1.5 squares, isn't it? Takes up that shape or that area there. Oh, can you see? Right. And at that point, what happens is it goes around. What I can do with this is I can project to my vanishing point. You might want to do this with a ruler. I'm sure you'll make a bit of a better effort than me at the moment because I'm all sort of screwed up in my office doing this. Equally well, that point is going to be going towards the vanishing point. You don't always have to go all the way to the vanishing point. Right, good. I'm also going to just draw a couple of lines along the top there, splitting that into 3. Excellent. So next thing I'm going to draw in is this. Can you see that's square? And that links the end of this shape to that front shape. So let's just do that. So I'm linking those two. Great. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that top shape, this plan. And in the plan, of course, the only thing which is touching the face of the cuboid is this area here. Because really there should be a line there because that's slanted down, isn't it? Okay. And so I'm going to draw that in. So that goes across one there. Actually goes across 3, doesn't it, there? And then this section here, which is quite hard to draw, is curved like that, isn't it? Okay, I'm now going to draw the back in here. So I'm going to drop a line down. And I want to mirror this, or not mirror, actually copy that curve onto the bottom. And so it's really starting to come together. I've got that curve at the back, I've got that face in, I've got the top in, which is that section. What I haven't got in is this slanted piece coming down. I know the slant starts at the midsection of this line, because I can see that, and it goes all the way down to the front. I know this is slightly off, but I've just rationalized this so all of the corners join up. So I've marked 2 points on here. I'm now going to just go between these, do that again, just ghost it in, just so I know where I'm going. I've then put in that slanted piece, got that in. I want to put that line in, that goes down 2, and that will go down 2, and so it joins this line, which I'd already put in as I projected it to my vanishing point. And then, of course, the last thing to do, I don't think it's quite the last actually, is to draw a line across there. Okay. One of the last things to do, not quite the last, is also a return on that side. And I think we will just see that needs to come forward a bit more. There we go. I haven't dropped a line down here, so I need to drop a line down there, which is this line here. Can you see? And that's it, apart from this circle. Now that will be a cylinder, but that's extruded, but negatively extruded internally, isn't it? And so it's wasted away. And I think I'm going to probably guess where that is and feel that that's probably about right. I don't think it's quite in the middle, something like that. There we go. So that is my drawing using 1 point perspective. It's not the best, but I think that would probably get you 4 marks. The drawing technique is not the best drawing technique, to be honest with you. Things often look a little bit chunky, a little bit out of proportion, I suppose you would say. So look, that's the first one. Next one we're going to do is we're going to do 2 point perspective, and we're going to do it in exactly the same way. The difference being we are going to use just a different drawing technique, really. Okay, I'm going to draw the leading edge. What I would call the leading edge. I'll put it there. I'm not overly happy with that. I think I'm going to put it there instead. That leading edge would be that edge there. Okay, the leading edge of the. I'm just going to put that up, put a horizon line in, that's the leading edge of that cuboid that we created. I generally go double, I go the height again, and then I go out twice. I've gone a bit further on that one. And the further you go out, the less harsh it looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to project towards those vanishing points. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to turn this into a square because that's what I need to do. Not quite. Yes, I think that's all right. Once I've created the square, what I'm going to do is project backwards, and then I'm going to produce a square. Actually, I shouldn't do that, really. Yeah, I'm going to do it this way, actually. I'm going to produce a square, I'm going to do another square, and then I'm going to do a third. I know that's the wrong way around, but I would find it quite difficult to draw a shape which is 3 by 1. I find it much easier to draw a shape which looks like a square, and then I can just put one on the end. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change that over. And so I've got my square on the end here. I've got another square there, and then I've got my 3 by 1, which I'm going to make a little bit fatter there, and then I need to come along. Okay, so you can see how I've created, it's a bit scruffy admittedly, you can see how I've created that block, that crate, which is going to be really useful. So first of all, just as before, I'm going to divide this into a 3 by 3 or a 3 by 3 grid, and I'm going to put in this section here, and so that's going in first of all. Next up, I'm going to put in this shaded area. I need to divide this. This into 3. Okay, what have I got then? That's the first square, so I'm going to go back. That's that line here. I then go up to. Remember, this is 1.5 here, so I've got to divide that in half, and then have see that shape, which is of course very similar to the shape we've got in the isometric drawing. Right, next up, I'm going to, just as before, I'm going to connect these two together. I know that the corners connect, and so in go the corners. Next up, I'm going to divide the top. Into 3. Put some more lines in this. Okay, so I have got this piece in. I'm going to take that across until we get to the other edge there, and then I'm just going to put some points where the beginning of this, actually this is actually a hard line, isn't it, going across there, so I can put that in. I'm going to put some points here where the top of that angled section is, and that can go down to here, so I can just join these up. There we go. Of course I can go down on that, and we can see that we've got a vertical here, and so I'm going to drop a vertical down there. This point here needs to go to the vanishing point, so I'm just going to roughly put that in, and then the point here, which is this point, needs to connect to the bottom of that angled section. All right, we're getting there slowly. see what I've done there as I've created a little cube, so I know that this angle, which is this angle, should be connecting to that area there and then projecting back. So that's good. Oh, that's not so good though, is it? I've also got this section, which is this section here, that needs to drop down. And now for what's going to be the hardest part of it, which is working out what exactly this back looks like. And that's going to just be done by eye. The way I could do that is split it in half, something like that. And then what we do is we go to the left-hand side, or the extreme side of the curve, and we put in a vertical, and then we copy that shape to the bottom, and so it's a bit similar. It's just copying what's above, reflecting what's above. Okay, and that's our shape. All right, that's all, of course, worked out with geometry. And one thing I haven't done is I haven't put in my little ellipse there, which is probably in a slightly wrong position. But that would again get us full marks, definitely. And how have I done it? I've done it just as before by breaking it down into squares, effectively units, and drawing it up, which I'll also do in the other videos as well. So look, I hope that that helps you. Let me just zoom in there so you can see that. It's a much better drawing than that one, isn't it? That looks rather odd, but that looks much better. Much more like the isometric drawing that we've got here. Okay, hope you enjoyed that look, or you found it useful. I will now go over the page and I will complete the other drawing tasks. 1 second before we go, just looking at this annotation, what I really wanted you to do there is just annotate it so that you were telling me what the angles were, for example. You could tell me what the width is. You could have annotation talking about the width, or the width of the front and the width of the side. Annotation, of course, is a really good tool. Oh, sorry, you can't even see that. Annotation is a really good tool to describe what your design thinking is doing and your opinion on something, and recording technical data that somebody else needs to understand. All right, so that could be a drawing technique in itself or a communication technique in itself, and it's something that's come up in the past. Okay, right, in the exams. Right, I will now stop.